Hello, this is Jon Speelman with the video version of my latest column number 171, which is coming out on Sunday, June the 5th. I'm recording on Thursday, June the 2nd, in fact. Um, and it's called 8 Staircases, 2 Stairwells and a Drunken Soldier. And I'm just going to check that we are recording because otherwise there is no point in doing this at all. And we are. Excellent. So, what I'm talking about this time is mainly the geometry of the chessboard. And I've said that one of the prerequisites, I actually misspelled that first time I said prerequisite, which isn't a word. One of the prerequisites, which is one of the necessary things you have to be able to do beforehand, sorry for non-English speakers, for playing chess, well, is to have a decent feel for the geometry of the chessboard. And if you name a square on the chessboard, then an experienced player will know exactly where it is, what colour. If I say b5, I know it's a white square in black's half of the board, and a passed pawn there may be on the way to being a queen. And it's a good square sometimes for a bishop or a white bishop or white knight. And black often plays b7 to b5 in Sicilians. And the two examples I gave there with the b2 square, which screams out for a white dark squared bishop, dominating the black diagonal, long black diagonal, and the f5 or e6 squares, which scream out, well, white squares, which scream out for a white knight harassing the enemy king. f5 is a particularly good square for a white knight. Right, so then I said, we also instinctively and explicitly know limitations of pieces. For instance, how long does it take a knight to move 2 squares diagonally? Experienced players will know this, but some quite good players may not explicitly know this. It actually takes 4 moves to move from, say, f3 or b3 to d5. I mean, from f3 you could go to d2 to c4 to e3 to d5, say, or to d2 to f1 to e3 to d5. Indeed, to g5 to e4 to c3 to d5, though that would be less common. And that's important in Sicilians because if you've got, excuse me, the typical pawn structure where black has got pawns on d6 and e5 and has got space but weakened himself, then there is, sorry, I don't know why Andrew Marr is talking to me. Well, I do, I must have followed him at some point. That was a tweet, wasn't it? Then it takes 4 moves to get the horse to the better square d5 where you want it, and that's a lot of time, and often black is able to do something dirty to you while the horse is walking around. For instance, just to get in d5. So that's important, the geometry. Then I said all tactical themes are rooted in geometry. So if you're going to if you're going to pin a piece or skewer it, then they have to be on the same line, a rank file or a diagonal. And also, if it's a knight fork, actually the 2 pieces have to be 2 squares away along the knight's path. Though you don't see it that way, you just know. You know if there's a queen on d7 and a king on h7, sorry, I had to think about that there's going to be a possible knight fork at f6 or indeed f8. Or if the queen's in f7 and the king's on h7, then, then unfortunately, well, no, I'll have to leave that now. That you can fork with knight g5 check. So the thing you have to do is you look for the geometry, and then I started talking about staircases, which is what I started with here, 8 staircases, and those are basically maneuvers where you edge up the board, or sometimes down it actually as well, normally with the queen, but actually you can do it with the king as well, as I'll show you in one example. And after that, we have some other things we can do. I've got, what have I got later? I've got the staircases, I've got a couple of Novotnys, and then I'm finishing with a nice game by Will Watson. So let's now move to the chess space, and I'm going to open column 171, and I started with a well-known study by Henri Rank, which is basically demonstrates lots of pins and skewers, and mainly skewers actually, but some pins as well. And it starts, the black king is terribly placed on c6, allowing action on, well, the 6th rank, the c file, the long white diagonal, and the a4 to e8 diagonal are actually backwards in that case. And it goes like this, here, here, here. Actually, when you go rook e8, queen takes, rook a8, queen takes a8 is the best chance, but the ending is winning for white. And it's this, forcing a skewer. Very nice, very simple geometrical study. And I was just saying this is all due to geometry. If we go to the starting position, then what I could do here is I could put a king there. I could say there's that line, this line, backwards this way actually, this line backwards that way is where the actual action takes place in this line. So that all these lines going through the square the white king is on, which means that the rook and bishop can hunt the queen down. Okay, then I started talking about staircases. Oh, first I talked about how a knight can't lose a move. I was talking about other properties of a knight. I talked about knights and leapers, didn't I? So, in this position, which square does the black king go to? And he actually goes to the square which is the same colour as the white knight, because that means when the knight gets near to him, he'll check him. If the knight isn't checking the king, if you get knight d6 against king c7 with black to move, then he loses. So if he goes king c7, knight, king, knight, and that's the end of that. You have to take the knight and the king comes out. But if you go to the right square, which I sort of worked out was the white square without making the moves, then now what happens is that white can give another check if he likes, but white can never, ever win, because he can't lose a move with the knight, as they say. So and then I talked about the camel. The camel is actually a 3-1 leaper, so it goes to square root of 10, the square root of 3 squared plus 1 squared. Like a knight goes to the square root of 5, the square root of 2 squared plus 1 squared, if you use Pythagoras' theorem. And a camel on a1, this goes to either b4 or d3. Sorry, b4 or d2. And it's always going to the same colour square. Pretty useless piece, but sometimes used in fairy chess. There we are. Then I started talking about some staircases. And the first staircase is one that Averbach showed. I think it was, of course, Averbach died a few months ago, sadly, or a month or so ago, I think, and at the age of 100. And there was his last published game was an exhibition game against a kid of 4, which he actually lost because the reason he lost it was because his eyesight isn't good and he didn't see where the kid had put a piece. But I mean, obviously he could still beat a 4-year-old. And Ossip somebody was the child. And during this thing, which was to celebrate, I think his 100th birthday, certainly one of the points. Okay, I'm going to talk to Christian later. I don't know how much you can see that. He showed this study, which is a nice geometric study. You go up a staircase. Now king h7 gets mated, and then you have to go up the staircase a second time, which is very nice. And actually here, bishop f7 check delays the mate by one more move, but the more thematic finish is this. So I was in bed one morning thinking about this. I was actually lying in bed and thinking, can I improve on this? I do sometimes think about chess in bed, obviously not all the time. And I got up, I started playing with a position, and of course you can use an engine as well. And the thing about an engine is it'll tell you whether a study is sound, something like this, instantly, and which helps. And I came up with this version, which is apparently sound. Goes queen b7 first. If you go queen f1, then bishop d5 is apparently a draw, which is not so surprising, because you are threatening things. If you're threatening to go king h7 and g6 mate, and if bishop takes pawn check, king takes bishop, then white's going to have to work to make a draw. So you wouldn't do that yet. You'd probably go queen. Well, queen f5 allows g6 check simply. It's just not good. Okay, so queen b7 is the right move. Going back, rook g1, and now you have to take, and you get the same thing. But you've this time you've got 2 more squares on the initial diagonal, and you've got 4 half moves at the beginning, and I was quite pleased with this. Up we go up the staircase, and we win. So I sent this to John Nunn and Jonathan Mestel, who are both very serious about problem solving and problems. They've both been world problem solving champion. I'm not sure how many times. I think probably John more than Jonathan, but I may be wrong, in which case I've traduced Jonathan, so I'm not certain. I think that's I can find out, actually. Let me find out. Otherwise I will have traduced Mestel, which will be a bad thing. So World Chess Problem Solving Championship and Wiki, and that should tell me who've been the champions. World Chess Solving Championship, and we look down for Nunn and for Mestel. Got Nunn, and we go and we look for Mestel. And Jonathan's only been once, yes. But still, it's a bloody great achievement, isn't it? Fantastic achievement. So, let's now... so John told me about this, and then we got to... He told me about a much better version, which is Pogosyan's version, which is beautiful. This starts knight b2, check to close the diagonal. That's staircase 1. This is staircase 2. And this is staircase 3. Absolutely fantastic. Got an honorary mention somewhere, but I think it's wonderful. This I really admire. Much, much better setting than mine. I was never going to publish... Well, I am publishing this here, but not in a competition or anything. I was just showing you what happened. So I was thinking about staircases, and Jonathan Mestel himself once showed me a staircase at the end of the game, which I hadn't seen. I found a way to win. This is a game I won against Julius Sachs, who's sadly no longer with us. A very nice Hungarian man, who I first met in the 1970s when he stayed with us on the way to playing, is it Teesside? There was a Hungarian refugee, originally Hungarian refugee, at Hampstead Chess Club, who knew Jula, or knew of Jula, and arranged for Jula to stay on the way to the World Junior, which I think, did he win even? Or is that the one Tony won? And he stayed with us, and of course I made him play Blitz, and I think I beat him once, but he beats me lots of times. And later we played quite a lot of chess. Of course he didn't remember this, obviously, but I did. And later we played some games. I beat him a couple of times, he beat me more. Anyway, this was at an Olympiad. I played a3, that's my signature move to avoid trouble. I'm just lazy about things like that in the opening. I think if rook c1, queen c7, probably rook c1 is very dangerous, I would guess. And we got to this position, I played c5. And I went e3, I think it was either e3 or g3 I was going to play. And this position is not nice for black, because white has a big lead in development, serious lead in development. not a nice position at all, and I played very positionally. And the reason I gave the Fischer game at the top, the game Fischer's Petrosian, is because I played this move. And in the famous Fischer Petrosian game, very famous game, Fischer played knight takes bishop check here, getting rid of the bad bishop. So that inspired me to do this, obviously. Because, you know, I knew something of the classics, quite a lot about the classics, actually. So we played these moves, and I think he nearly equalised, actually. But I got control. At some point, things went very wrong. He's done this pretty badly. I don't know if he should have played f5, if I should have played g4 first, or f4. And now his problem is that he's really tied up. After b4, his knight is trapped, which is a very bad thing. And at some stage, I realised that I could play bishop a6 and b5, which is trapping my own bishop, but he's terribly, terribly, terribly tied up. And he can't play knight c6, of course, because the pawn takes knight and rook checks on c7. And if king c8, rook c7, then his knight is completely trapped. So actually, this is a winning position. Now, he should have done something about trying to get f6 in and giving a pawn up or something. Eventually, we got to this position where he's in Zugzwang. If he goes king h7, I just go king h5, and he found a way to fight a bit. Oh God, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to pause this. Hello again, this is Jon Speelman. This will need to be spliced together, please, either Johannes or Carlos, because I had to take a phone call. Anyway, right, so where were we? So we got to here, and he's in Zugzwang, and after here, he's got to make a move. So he tried rook a8. It's the only move he can play, really. No, he tried knight c6, didn't he? If rook a8, I go bishop b7, and then he has to give up the exchange, and there's no chance. So he tried this, and I just played bishop e6, as a normal person would, and Jula resigned because I'm going to bring my king back, take his b pawn, and then queen the f pawn. But Jonathan pointed out this beautiful win. Bishop here, pawn here, check here, bishop here, here, king e4, blocking the diagonal. King to there, check, king to there, king to there here, check, king to there, king to there here. And after king g6, we take the b pawn, and that's the end of that. Beautiful win on using a staircase. And that was, sorry, that's showing that which you don't want to see. And that was a very nice win which you showed me. Then I showed some more geometry. I showed a basic Novotny. This is a position where there's an intersection on e4 between this diagonal and this diagonal. And in order to win, you play what's called a Novotny interference, blocking those two lines. And that can play rook e3 check if you want, white just plays king h2. Whichever way you take, then one of the lines will be blocked, and then you can queen a pawn. That's a famous theme named the Novotny after, no, I've forgotten who Novotny was. He was Soviet, I think, wasn't he? Sorry, again, I've got this bloody thing. Let me... Novotny. Antonin Novotny. Okay. Was first secretary of the Communist Party of Czechoslovakia. No, wait a minute, is he the right one? Novotny chess. Doesn't sound like a good thing, does it? Novotny found in chess problems after a problem from 84 by Antonin Novotny. So that's a different Antonin Novotny, presumably. I wonder if they've got the right Novotny there. But anyway, he made a problem with probably. Let's see, white to play and mate in 2. See, he's not going. Oh, he's going queen b2, isn't he? Presumably, is he? No, knight b2, sorry, knight b2. He's going to do an after rook takes queen d4 check, after bishop takes queen f2 check. So this was the original Novotny. Can you see that on my screen, or is it hidden by... oh, I don't know, do I? You should be able to, I think. Anyway, then we get to a Benko study. The Benko study is a much better version of that. My God, everything's playing up today, isn't it? So you don't play g7, you go e7 here, then you have to go g7 here, and then you have to go check. Because if you go rook e6, rook takes, pawn equals queen, rook, bishop c4 check somehow. So that's right. So if rook e6 takes here, check here. So you have to go rook c7 check first. King f2, rook e6, check, king a5, and now you play rook e6. And with the king and f2, there is this defensive bishop c4 check. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. King g3 is the only square, I think. I think I've checked this with the table base. And now, due to the attack on the bishop and the fact there's a queen d8 check 4, of course you wouldn't play bishop e6 but you'd keep the rook, but the queen beats the rook, of course. So a very beautiful study. And finally we come to the drunken machine gunner. William Watson, who was my second years ago and is now a very successful commercial lawyer. He's a partner at Slaughter and May. When he was young, Boris Spassky said that his chess was like that of a drunk with a machine gun. I'd always thought it was a drunken machine gunner, but it's almost the same thing. And Will doesn't play very much now, but he does play for my Bundesliga team. We both play the same Bundesliga team, Munich 1836, which got promoted to the top division of the Bundesliga last year, or 2 years ago, whenever, before lockdown, I suppose. And last weekend we were playing the mighty Baden-Baden, who were expected to splat us, and very, very creditably we actually got to just 3.5, 4.5. We had two English players. We had Gawain Jones, who drew with Paco Vallejo, and Will. And actually Baden-Baden also had Mickey, who lost to Tabata Bay, who plays for us. And it was Tabata Bay rather than Magsudli, wasn't it? I think Tabata Bay. And anyway, Will played Georg Mayer, the very strong Austrian. He is Austrian, I think, Grandmaster, isn't he? But this is what happened. So Mayer always plays the Rubinstein variation, and Will tried this one. You can actually take back with the knight. I checked. I thought if I was playing this position, I would almost certainly be playing as black, because I believe in the two bishops and the pawn centre and the extra pawn on e6. And in fact, knight f6 is apparently playable, but I mean, it looks more natural to do this. Actually, f5 is a good move, I think. h5 was given somewhere, and f5, queen e5 looks like a Najdorf Sicilian, doesn't it? Actually, now knight e6 doesn't work, which is important. Apparently, it doesn't work anyway. Knight f6, queen takes, knight f3, queen g6. g6 doesn't work, because you always think, is that going to be dangerous? But it says not, I think. Knight e6, queen takes. Let me just add a kibit. So let me add, I've just got Stockfish 15 recently. What does it say? Hello, O great maestro. It says knight f3, queen g6, rook checks, king d8, and is giving it as line over plus. We'll add a couple more moves. Rook he1 check, king d8, queen h4 check, queen f6. I mean, in a blitz game you'd expect to win this as white, actually, by the way, but okay. Bishop b4. it claims that basically this doesn't quite work. Rook e2. I don't know why you've gone bishop c5, b4, and then why did it go bishop b4 rather than bishop c5? Looks the same, doesn't it? Oh, maybe it's slightly better to have the rook and e2 when they play bishop f5. Okay, anyway, I mean, the engine doesn't like it. In practice, it would be extremely dangerous. What happened was he went bishop b7, they got some pieces out. Knight b5. Actually, bishop b5 leads to a long and... I mean, obviously in a game you don't really know this, but bishop b5 castles, queen h5, takes. There's this excellent move. Now white does win a pawn. Bishop, takes. But what happens is that now the horse gets trapped after f5 and a6. And my engine was giving... apparently not b5. Why wasn't it giving b5? b5, knight a5, b6, saying it's equal. And it was giving this position and saying... actually, it's going something like here, takes. But you go d6 check? No, you don't. Do you take? And claiming this is about equal. Okay, but that was. But Will went knight b5. I mean, it's just a decision in the game, isn't it? You don't know. I mean, the engine may know, but we don't. And he got a very decent play actually, but. Now he does win the bishop for the knight, which is very nice, but he's dissipated some of the energy in his position. Knight d5 is apparently better. Okay, Will is taking aim. Now he's... knight f7 isn't possible yet, presumably, because you can go knight takes, queen e5, and you trap the queen, which is really bad luck. So he went away. Actually, knight takes, those knight c4, wasn't there? Sorry, as well. Now, apparently queen e7 was better, but this looks quite natural. And here your man, he should have known he was playing a drunken machine gunner. Apparently e5 is okay. He went bishop g2, which is asking for it. Because now white has a free tempo to take aim. And can you imagine, after bishop c7 he fired? That's possible that Mayer had decided that rook d8 was a brilliant defence which held his defences, but now white plays an excellent move you may have seen on the screen, an excellent move to replay training. Oh god, it's not really, is it? Replay training, that's a bit better. So the thing is, rook takes rook doesn't work, but there's a move you can play which is not that easy to see because it's collinear. You play collinear, I'm not sure what I've said. But you play rook d6. It's hard to see moves where you don't take the opposing piece. I mean, if it was opposing on an open file and you had a pawn on c5 and a black pawn on c6, say, that would be quite easy to see because that's quite a normal thing to do. But here this just tactically is disastrous for black. Because he's got to move his... because if rook takes rook, queen takes rook wins. Fairly obviously, I suppose he should have tried it. Well, it's losing, isn't it? Pretty clearly. And he tried queen h4, queen d4, rook takes rook, queen h8 mate. Brilliant game by Will. I sent an email saying, bravo. I thought that was great. The drunken machine gunner definitely nailed his quarry in this particular game. So, really nice game by Will with a nice piece of geometry at the end as well, since we're doing geometry, the collinear move. And, right, there we are. I hope you've enjoyed this, and, I keep on getting messages, don't I? It's one of those days. But, there we are, and, I will be back in a fortnight on the 19th of June. So, cheers then, and I'm going to finish. Check I am recording, which I am.